You're listening to The Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Now, from the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Brian Fenley.
The two-time reigning Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs, are out to 3-0 after winning Sunday Night Football in a game in Atlanta against the Falcons 22-17. The LA Rams, despite injuries to key players on their roster, winning 27-24 over the 49ers after the game. Rams head coach Sean McVay had this to say.
All right, holy Yeah. No, that was, what a job by our group. Just continuing to battle, continuing to fight. And, you know, there's a lot of guts, there's a lot of resilience in this group. And it's just one game, but I'm really proud of them.
Also proud would be Dan Campbell of his Lions, who would go on to win 20-13 over the Cardinals after Kyler Murray, the quarterback for Arizona, struggled in this game.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to center and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to recruit you, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome to this Monday edition of the Martin Houston Show. I am Xavier Houston. We have Martin with us, of course. And we have Chase this morning pressing all the right buttons as we get ready to kick it off. This is Alabama versus Georgia week. Man, what an exciting week. First time that it is no longer the master and the student in a while in this rivalry, as now it is Kalen DeBoer versus Kirby Smart on the sidelines. But we also going to talk about some things that took place around the SEC this week. We found Oklahoma got its rude awakening and welcome to the SEC. Auburn, man, I think that might be a dumpster fire down there on the plains, as well as other games that took place around the country. And we have Kennington Smith III joining us in the second quarter. And now I am kicking it over to you. How are you this morning?
Doing well. Good morning and welcome into the Martin Houston Show, powered by Box Eye Care. Box Eye Care, taking care of business, and they'll take care of you. So go check out Box Eye Care, 205-342-0660 via the phone lines or online at boxeyecare.com, or visit them in person at 5003 Oscar Baxter Drive. Great new location, very welcoming space, clean and full of frames. Frames from wall to wall. Great inventory and an in-house lab. And because of that, you can get the same great service you've come to expect. And in many cases, can get in and out in less than an hour with that new look, new vision, new frames, new style. That's Box Eye Care. Daniel Box OD and his team are waiting to serve you. So give them a call and tell them that Martin Houston told you to stop by. All right. Remember that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. And for those of you who join us on the phone lines, you can get in on it at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That's the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions hotline. We'd love to take your call. For those of you who join us on the live stream or would like to join us on the live stream, you can always join us on Facebook at The Martin Houston Show on Facebook, airing live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So don't forget to check us out, give your thoughts, comments, and reactions there. And as Xavier said, got some great topics lined up for you. As Kennedy Smith III will join us in the conversation in the second quarter. You can join us now, and we will hit all things Bama. I mean, it's Bama football, baby. It's game week. It's a dog-eat-dog week, so we'll break down and dig into that a little bit more. We're going to do a good, bad, ugly SEC edition since Bama didn't play. Is Bama ready? Is Bama ready for this big game? We'll have some audio this week from Coach Sheridan. We'll have audio this week from Ryan himself and a couple other things. And I want to get Kennington and X. I'd like for you and Kennington to have a conversation around college football as a whole. Is it that college football is better or worse? Has the bottom come up but the top fell down? And I think my opinion on the dominance of Tennessee and Oklahoma may be a little different view than what everybody else has. So, but I will give Tennessee their kudos. They are a much improved team and better team, but I think that the hype train may have jumped a little too far. So I toss it back to you.
Yeah, so the good and bad of the SEC this week. I mean, for me, I'm not really a fan of anybody else. So I don't know if there's much good I can say.
I think the good is that you every week, to me, X, one of the goods is you can just about find a good game each week. I mean, that's true. I mean, that's the good of the SEC, breaking up the divisions and adding the two new teams. Is even when Alabama was off this week, I still caught myself interested in football. And that's not just SEC, that's conference alignment as a whole. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess that would be actually, you know what? My good is watching Auburn fans scramble for the second time this season after anointing a second quarterback as the savior of this team. And I felt it coming. I said, man, they did it in week one with Peyton Thorne against Alabama A&M. Oh, man. No offense. Alabama A&M does not have the players to even make that game competitive. Then he looks horrible against California. And what do they come out and do the next week? Hank Brown gets started against New Mexico State, who had a 20-point lead against South Dakota State and lost. Hank Brown looks great. Looks good. But in my head, I'm going, it's New Mexico State. Here we go again. And what does he do? 3 interceptions in the first half, and they bench him for Peyton Thorne again.
Yeah. Their
quarterbacks against Power 5 schools have thrown 8 interceptions in 2 games.
Well, I can tell you that looking at either one of those guys, neither one of them scare you. So I will say that. And since we're talking about Auburn, X, let's check out the phone lines.
All right, we got Alan joining us on the Empowerment and Strategy Solutions Hotline. How you doing this morning, Alan?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing this morning?
Doing great.
What you got for?
I want to talk about Auburn. I just want to say that's what I want to say about it. You know what? Did Did y'all happen to see what Bo Wallace said about Hugh Freeze? And he blocked him on his Facebook account or whatever the account it was. He blocked Bo Wallace. He basically was saying that Hugh Freeze does not take accountability for anything that he throws the quarterbacks under the bus, and he does not take accountability for anything. And that's basically what he did Saturday.
Yeah,
100% what he did Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, and he didn't just talk about the quarterbacks. He even threw the running back that made the nice run and fumbled right before he crossed the goal line under the bus, like the kid that fumbled 10 times.
Yep.
Does that not mean you're not being prepared? Does that mean that the coach is not getting his players prepared for them games? So instead of throwing your coaches throwing everybody under the bus, you need to look at yourself first. Or better yet, go there and get some Yellowwood money and go get you a quarterback, or go to the portal and get you some people out, because you got plenty of Yellowwood money down there. Or you'll be looking for another coach.
Well, that's the problem, though. You just nailed it. Okay, how many coaches have they had in the 17 years that we had for Nick Saban?
Oh man, about 4 or 5, at least 4, at least 4.
Tuberville,
Chisholm, Malzahn, Harsin, and he made 5.
So that was 5. That was 5 in 15 years. Saban was here 17 years, but that's still 5 in 15. And the question becomes, how many of those guys were you still paying? At any given time, Auburn has had
paying 3 right now.
That's my point. At any given time, Auburn has been paying 3 head coaches.
Yeah, and even though Malzahn has a job at Central Florida, he took less money intentionally to make Auburn still pay him.
Somebody said they got off the Gus bus for this. So that hey, Alan, we got to get ready to get out of here, Alan. But I'm telling you, Alan, it's when I look at those 2 quarterbacks, neither one of them strike fear like into my heart, and it's just it's tough, and I could technically see a situation where Auburn they have Oklahoma, Georgia, and Missouri, and Kentucky.
Lose all 4.
That's the next 4 games.
Lose all 4.
And the reason the Missouri and Kentucky game gets worse is they're both on the road.
You know, Ty Simpson should have went down there. He'd be the starting quarterback right now.
Well, someone put on here said that. Let me see what was said. Peyton Thorne was a very good quarterback before coming to Auburn football, and at Coach Hugh Freeze. That's why Freeze wanted him. All potential recruits should take notice of this.
Exactly.
Hey, listen. Exactly. We got to get the break after this, Alan. But listen to this, Alan. Did you see who won the game at South Carolina this week?
No, I didn't watch it.
Robbie Ashford.
He had a couple hundred yards passing and close to 100 yards rushing, I think. And you know, he did lose the game against South Carolina, but he wasn't the starter. He got this week to prepare, and he looked like a good quarterback. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. Thanks, Alan.
All right.
Appreciate it. Coming back on the other side, we'll add Kennedy Smith III to the conversation.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. And just like that, it's Monday again. Good morning to you. Not dealing with any severe delays right now. We do have the construction zones. It may slow you down just a notch. If you're traveling on Paul Bryant Bridge between Jack Warner Parkway and Wrights Mine Road and Colony Hills, now you definitely have yourself some road construction there.
Us at 3537 Skyland Boulevard East or online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today with a hot afternoon, the high 93. For tonight, the sky fair with the low at 72. For tomorrow, partially sunny. We'll mention a small chance of a shower by afternoon, the high tomorrow 91. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. I want to thank the good folks over at North River Timber Company, LLC, Courtney White and Chase Pearson. They are there to serve you in West Alabama, and they've expanded another crew into East Mississippi. So if you're looking for timber harvesting appraisals and land management in West Alabama into East Mississippi, then you need to give North River Timber Company a call at 205-242-5127 or email northrivertimberco@gmail.com. That's northrivertimberco@gmail.com. North River Timber Company, timber harvesting appraisals and land management in West Alabama and East Mississippi. Ooh, X, we're getting some serious comments, but I'll toss it back to you to bring in our guest.
We've got Kenny Smith III of The Athletic joining us here on the Martin Houston Show. How you doing this morning, Kenny?
Good.
Kenny, no Alabama this weekend, but what were your thoughts of the weekend around the SEC and the country?
Well, I think the first thing that stuck out is the fact that Auburn has entered the conversation of potentially the worst team in the SEC. There is a little bit of a gauntlet there. You're going to have Florida, Mississippi State. They've kind of entered the mix when you think about what they're doing offensively. There's some problems there at the quarterback position. So that was the first thing that stuck out to me. And then obviously, Tennessee going on the road, winning at Oklahoma. Thought it was a really good win for them. They're kind of a different type of way that we've seen Tennessee play, a little bit more of a physical style, heavy on the run, kind of an uglier game. So Tennessee getting a kind of a grittier type win. You don't really see them win that way under Heupel. So I thought that was notable as well.
Kennington, let me ask you this. Was that intentional because he didn't think Oklahoma could score? Because there was so many times in that game where I'm like, is Tennessee just running the clock out? Because I have a little different view. I think you take away the big plays, they don't, and that's what Tennessee does. But Oklahoma, they had two big plays. And then everything else, Oklahoma kind of gave them, in my opinion. I think Oklahoma quarterback gave them the game in a lot of ways. It's a totally different game if he don't fumble it back on the 5 and throw a lateral. But with that said, I still felt like that Heupel just decided I don't have to show any of my stuff that we prepared this week.
Yeah, I think it was pretty clear early on that Oklahoma offensively was not going to be able to hurt Tennessee. So pretty rare that you look at a Tennessee box score, you see 52 runs. Nico really didn't have to throw it that much, only 13 completions. They were able to just kind of take the air out of the game by running the ball and playing good defense and kind of relying on that pass rush. So I do think they probably went into it ready to, unload the clip if needed. But I think as the game went on, Heupel, thought to himself, we can really just kind of take the air out of this thing and run the ball and just kind of play a little conservatively, and we could just, get out of here with the win and save that stuff for, later on, like when Alabama comes to Knoxville, for example.
One last question, though, because they didn't let up. They may have let up offensively. They didn't let up defense. Did the freshman Hawkins show a chink in the armor? And they're not looking forward to Jalen Milroe because he gave them fits once he settled in, and they were still trying to stop him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, potentially. I think, obviously the quarterback change took them off guard. Definitely took me off guard. I don't know how y'all felt about it, but I just felt like it was
big time.
Big mistake.
Very, rash decision. That would probably be my other takeaway. Actually, talk about SEC takeaways. Brent Venables and his quarterback handling, evaluation skills have to be called into question. You think about kind of encouraging Dylan Gabriel to leave for Jackson Arnold, who was kind of propped up to be the heir apparent at Oklahoma, and then at the first sign of adversity, you go to a true freshman who just got there. It's like, what have you been looking at over the last, 8-9 months that you had so little confidence in what Jackson Arnold was doing that you didn't want to roll with him through, albeit a very rough first half, but feel like kind of creating a quarterback controversy in that moment was not very wise, especially with the Texas game looming in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was shocking to see Jackson Arnold get pulled that fast. And I thought at first maybe it was something, to calm his nerves on the sideline. But when they kept Hawkins in the game, I was shocked by that. But we got some callers on the line waiting and wanting to get in on the conversation. We have Robert from Mobile joining us. How you doing this morning, Robert?
Hey, guys.
Hey, now.
Yeah, Mississippi State is still in the lead for the bottom four contest in the SEC. Auburn closed the gap quite a bit.
Hey, but Robert, Mississippi State, I give Mississippi State a bye in the sense that first time coach, if they look like the dumpster fire again, I think Mississippi State hurt their program by making the rash decision to hire the interim coach. So this is really 2 years because I don't think they've recovered from the loss of the Pirate. So I'm going to give him a pass. They are bad, really bad, but at least they have an excuse.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, that is a variable that factors into the equation. So that is something. Really, old saying it's getting real now for Alabama. I mean, okay, it's real now. We'll see what we're saying. I think my opinion, this is for the best team in college football contest here. Texas just hasn't been proven. I mean, I'm not convinced that they are better. There's no question about it. They are one of the top teams in college football, and Texas can beat anybody anywhere if they're not on their game. But are they? But if all things equal, neutral side, are they better than Alabama and Georgia? I haven't seen your schedule. Ain't telling me that yet. So I'm not convinced that yet. With Alabama, yeah.
Yep.
Did you say that I'm trying to make sure I understood what you said correctly. Did you say that at this point he thinks Tennessee is better than Alabama and Georgia?
No. He was saying he doesn't think Texas has proven to truly be the best team in the country because of their schedule.
I don't know about that. I mean, has Georgia not played a tougher schedule than Texas?
That's what he's saying. He's saying that he's saying that he's not on the Texas hype train like everybody has. He's saying that everybody has written Texas in as the elite. Well, I mean, of course they have, because they started writing polls that if what's his name was coming out, he'd be the first quarterback taken, Arch Manning, and he hasn't. So that's, I think, Robert, I don't want to speak for you, Robert, but that's what you're saying, right? He thinks that this game really will show which team is the best team in college football.
Absolutely. Yeah, to me, in my opinion, because, based on body of work, this is the game to me that puts, if I'm doing a fresh poll based on body work, nothing else, the winner of this game would be the number one team after the in my body of work poll. Again, not that Texas isn't there, because they are clearly there. They are clearly back. They are clearly one of the top three teams in college football. And 1, 2, and 3, because it's so close. I mean, it's like 1A, 1B, 1C, and that can change at any moment. But based on body of work, this is a game that puts you with 1A, and Texas will have their chance later to get themselves at 1A. But right now, it'd be body of work, Alabama and Georgia right now.
Let me ask you this. Did the SEC prop Texas up, though?
Yes.
Because there is zero way, and Kenny, I like your response, and then, Robert, you can respond. But you look at this. Okay, I'm going to just read this schedule. Colorado State, Michigan, UTSA, ULM. So first SEC game, Mississippi State, Oklahoma. Hey, they played Georgia, Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and A&M. The only two games in there, and the only game in there to me that was we're going to make this a tough schedule for them was Georgia. Oklahoma was a no-brainer. They had to put Oklahoma on there. A&M was a no-brainer. They had to put A&M on their schedule. Everybody else is the bottom half of the SEC. Then you look at this schedule and go Tennessee, Auburn, Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Missouri, Alabama, LSU. That's Oklahoma's schedule. How is that even possible? And nobody's called them out for that.
Yeah, I was about to say, you know who they did not prop up? Oklahoma. Oklahoma. Yeah, that's no, you're exactly right. I definitely think there is a bit of an agenda there. Which is, ironic, kind of propping up Texas, because Oklahoma actually beat Texas last year and should have been, playing for the Big 12 championship. They kind of had a late season collapse, but that kind of, I felt like evaded people or kind of been suppressed, is that Oklahoma actually beat Texas last year and consistently been better than Texas over the last, decade or so. But, Texas kind of making that lasting impression. They definitely got some favors from the powers that be to set up maybe a potential Texas-Alabama rematch or a Texas-Georgia part 2 this year, or, whatever the case may be when we get to the end of the road.
Yep. Robert, you got
100%. Appreciate you, Robert.
Yeah, all right, guys. Catch you later.
Hey, Robert, you got a score? You got your score yet? Is he gone? He may be gone.
He dropped.
He's gone. So we got Pat joining us on the hotline real quick.
Yeah, we need to get the break.
Okay.
I don't want to cram Pat in. He'll get about 30 seconds. So, all right. Hey, let's get the break here. Want to remind you, hey, listen, if you're looking for to buy, sell, or your dream home, get into that new dream home, then I would love the opportunity to help you as part of my roles and responsibilities in my new company, Empowerment Strategy and Solutions. Have a real estate arm. Martin Houston Real Estate has joined with Realty One Group. It's official. You can call me at 205-826-1381 or email martinhoustonrealestate@gmail.com, martinhoustonrealestate@gmail.com. So either way, whether you're looking to buy, sell, or list, we'll be glad to help you do that. Once again, email martinhoustonrealestate@gmail.com. And I've joined Realty One Group, your one source for all of your real estate needs.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. And just like that, it's Monday again. Good morning to you. Not dealing with any severe delays right now. We do have the construction zones. It may slow you down just a notch. If you're traveling on Paul Bryant Bridge between Jack Warner Parkway and Wrights Mine Road and Colony Hills, now you definitely have yourself some road construction there.
You're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. Go ahead and mark down the date, 12/3/2024. That's the Live to Lead date for 2024. We'll have a couple for 2025. But while we're doing that, I want to remind you about Dixie Battery Supply. Never feel powerless again. Stock up with batteries from our battery store in Tuscaloosa. That's Dixie Battery Supply. They have the reconditioned batteries starting at $39.99 plus tax with the exchange. You can contact them now via the phone lines at 205-758-9190 or online at DixieBatterySupply.com. Stop by their Tuscaloosa and Northport location. That's DixieBatterySupply.com. X.
All right, we've got Pat joining us on the Empowerment Strategy Solutions hotline. How you doing this morning, Pat?
Good morning, guys. First off, I want to disagree with Alan on Ty going to Auburn. That Ty Simpson needs to be right where Ty Simpson's at. We now have the number 2 quarterback in the country because Arch Manning's number 1. He's QB1, so we got the number 1 backup quarterback in the country now, and most polls agree with me. But hey, guys, this is Georgia week. But Martin, I want to request that Wednesday night that you have prayer service because we're going to have all of the models are saying we're going to have a landfalling hurricane that's going to go up the Georgia Alabama line pretty much and then turn back into North Alabama. And that could mean a tremendous amount of tornadoes for the Alabama-Georgia area. So going into the Georgia week with potential catastrophic damage, this is not good. And a real good prayer meeting Wednesday night can't hurt, Martin.
I'll be praying before Wednesday, but we'll add it to Wednesday's list too.
Yeah, but I'm excited. This is the most excited that I've been. I've been getting more and more hyped on actually beating Georgia, and I want to give you my score. That I'm saying that Alabama's going to show you how to score in this Georgia defense, and that we're going to get 35 and poor Kirby Smart's going to get 21.
All right. What's Georgia's total yards?
Georgia's total yardage is going to be about 315.
All right. Thanks, Pat. X.
All right.
All right, Pat. Have a good one. Appreciate you calling in as always. Kennington. So as we're getting ready to talk about this Georgia game, I know there's been some injuries that Alabama's had after the Wisconsin game. Has there been any updates on Quay Russaw and Richard Young?
Yeah, I think with Quay Russaw, and obviously we'll get a little more clarity today. I feel like he's a little further along. Somebody who fortunately avoided a serious injury, earlier against Wisconsin. The thing about Kalen DeBoer, when he talks about injuries, with coaches, you have to kind of decipher what they're saying. They've been being here so long. You're able to kind of pick up on the things he was saying. With DeBoer, it's like, okay, if you hear positive things trending in the right way, it's like, okay, it's probably a little less serious. Richard Young, he was like, I don't really know. It's like a wait and see. It's like, okay, he's probably a little bit further along. So I'd be optimistic on Quay Russaw, less optimistic on Richard Young.
And don't want anybody to be hurt, but if we're going to get one of those two guys back for this one, it's definitely Quay Russaw that you want.
Yeah.
Hey, but let me ask you this, X, if I can jump in here.
Go ahead.
Kennington, is it possible that Q Robinson may be a bigger factor in this game? That guy, I know we use him a lot on third down, but good gracious, man, his pass rush is through the roof.
Yeah. I do think this could be a Quay Russaw game. You're talking about pass rush. You're talking about he's played some inside backer as well. He has some versatility. He has something to him that could disrupt Georgia. You think about what happened last year when you had, Dallas Turner and Chris Bradshaw both able to get pressure on Carson Beck off of the edge. Q Robinson could be, a huge X factor in this game potentially because Bama's going to they're going to try to heat Carson Beck up. And Alabama hasn't been a heavy blitzing team this year. They've kind of been relying on their front, and Q Robinson has been a huge part of that. So this could be a potentially big game for him.
Without a doubt, when you look at how last year Carson Beck was moved off of his spot, and he just threw the timing off a little bit here and a little bit there, and that's really what helped Alabama win this game in the SEC championship game. When we're talking, go ahead.
No, and I was just going to add to that, going to what Pat said. He said Georgia's going to get 315 yards. In my mind, the first question that I had was, how many rushing yards did they have out of 315? Because Georgia only ran for 2.5 yards per carry against Alabama last year. I can assure you, if they run for 2.5 yards this year, the score is going to be a lot less close than 27-24. So when he said, Georgia's going to get 315 yards, I'm like, man, what do they do on the ground if the number's going to be that low?
Yeah.
Right. And when we're looking at that, you're talking about the pressure that Alabama has seen or has used this year. It's been really four down linemen, or the traditional edge guys in a Q and a Quay, and those guys. How wide open do you think Womack goes this game with blitzes and pressures, and really tries to shake things up? Because, as we've said, he hasn't shown much.
Yeah, I definitely think that, just a quick sidebar to that. This is something I did with my bye week analysis. Alabama's defense has only blitzed 3% of the time this year, which is easily the lowest in the country. But they are in the mid-50s in pressure rate. So they are getting back there with their front four, which is something that we had questions about early in the year. So that is a good sign. I do think we're going to see Kane Warmer dial it up a little bit. And if you're a Georgia fan or an Alabama fan watching that Kentucky game, the biggest takeaway that you probably should have is that Georgia's offensive line can be had in a physicality type of battle. We saw what Kentucky was able to do. Alabama obviously is a significant step up. So if you see what Kentucky was able to do in terms of stopping Georgia's run and getting after Carson Beck, you feel like this is a huge opportunity for Tim Keenan and LT Overton to have a breakout game. So I expect Womack to dial up something a little bit more elaborate. Georgia has a very key injury on the offensive line. Tate Ratledge, probably their best lineman, is not going to play on Saturday. So there's going to be some new start.
So Kenneth, that was my follow-up question. It seems like even though Georgia had 4 returning linemen, the five adding a really, really good center, he just was behind an All-American before. It didn't seem like this line had meshed, and now you add into that Ratledge, who was their best offensive lineman from all indications. So it is confirmed that he's out?
Yeah, he had the Brock Bowers tightrope surgery. So he's going to be out for an extended period of time. Probably not going to see him until probably closer to November, I would think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he had the ankle injury that Tua had in the SEC championship game. He had a similar one in the same surgery.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's huge to me, Kennington. If our defense is able to get that, and Womack has said he hasn't used a lot, but let me ask you this, Kennington, when you look at this game, has it been a Saban issue or an Alabama issue or a combination with Kirby trying to change up and do too much? Because I think he felt like, well, I'm playing against myself, and he's called the game based on what he knows the defense can stop. Has that hampered his offensive approach? And if so, does the fact that Saban's gone and the defense is different, does that potentially help Georgia?
Maybe potentially so. And it's interesting that you asked that. There's a story up on The Athletic this morning. Myself and the Georgia writer, Seth Emerson, did like a collaboration piece where I posed kind of the same question: is who's under the most pressure to win this game on Saturday? To me, I feel like it's clearly Georgia. For the reason that you just said, if Georgia were to lose this game, the question turns to, did Kirby have a Nick Saban problem, or is Georgia's program have an Alabama problem holistically? I think that's the crux of where this game is at, and that's what I'm most interested in this weekend. As far as, offensively in terms of game planning, maybe there is something to trying to, outthink yourself in terms of, okay, what was Saban call here? What are we going to do offensively? I feel like Mike Bobo is the most important person in this game on Saturday. He needs to let it rip if Georgia's going to win this game. Because I know Alabama is. And when we're talking about who's going to win and lose, it's going to be a really close one. But I just feel like I trust Alabama's brain trust offensively to call a better game than Georgia's offensive brain trust. So to answer that question, beyond Carson Beck or Jalen Miller or anybody else, Mike Bobo, I feel like is holding the keys to this game. And if he does not call a more aggressive game than he did in December, last December, again, it's going to be a lot less close than 27-24.
All right. Hey, let's get to break, X, so we'll have plenty of time on the other side. As we get the break here, I want to encourage you to go check out the officially licensed, co-branded Martin Houston, Alabama swag at the Athletic. Not the Athletic, Athletes Thread. Athletics is where you can find Kennington stuff. Look at the co-branded Martin Houston, Alabama swag at athletesthread.com/collections/Martin-Houston. As you can see, I'm sporting the Legacy cap with the new Legacy logo with the script A. All types of co-branded items there. The Varsity A with Crimson Tide in the bottom, with Legacy in the bottom, and even with Houston in the bottom. All of those items and a lot more at the officially licensed co-branded site, athletesthread.com/collections/Martin-Houston.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey, it's Gary Harris. Monday morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show. It's Georgia week. We'll come out of the weekend ready to rock and roll. Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com and Tider Insider TV will kick off our Georgia week coverage, plus Casey Smith on golf, your phone calls, and much more. We'll recap the weekend in college football. That's the Gary Harris Show, Monday morning at 9 a.m.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Good morning, Coaling. We've got some busyness happening on Highway 11 in both the east and westbound lanes between Hagler Coaling Road and Lower Coaling Road. It looks like construction kind of slowing you down in the area, and also Skyland Boulevard.
Taxes. On September 24th, head to the polls and vote no to the property tax hike. For details, visit VoteNoSeptember24th.com.
Paid for by Smith Mac LLC.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. Don't forget to go check out the pharmacy at Midtown. Pharmacy at Midtown brings us our Free For All Friday, powered by Pharmacy at Midtown. It's now time for our Harvest Church 2-minute warning. Harvest Church, where we love God, love people. I'll toss it to X in Kennington for a little rapid fire.
All right, Kennington, when we're looking at this game, what's going to be the biggest who's going to be the biggest difference maker in getting Alabama the win this week?
Yeah, I think it's going to be somebody out of that receiving room. I think you're looking at this game and I think there's obviously some questions about Georgia's receiving room and if they have that kind of weapon on the perimeter. It seems like Alabama always kind of has one of those guys, whether it be Julio or Amari, et cetera. It seems like Ryan Williams kind of emerged as that guy. Jeremy Bernard's playing really well as well. So I think somebody out of Alabama's receiving room is going to be a huge difference. Georgia has new pieces in the secondary. They have freshmen playing in the secondary, similar to Alabama. So there's going to be some opportunities, I think, for Alabama in the pass game. So which receiver is going to be able to step up and make those plays downfield?
I did see an interesting stat that showed the number of Alabama freshmen that have had wide receivers that have had big games against Georgia. So I think Ryan Williams will be a huge piece in that. Defensively, what does Alabama have to do to slow down Georgia's offense this week?
Yeah, they got to stop the run. You got to put Georgia in an uncomfortable third and long situation and make their receivers beat your guys man to man. So, like I said earlier, 2.5 yards per carry for Georgia against Alabama last time they played. Completely knocked Georgia out of sync. They're going to have to do that again and make Bobo kind of reach into his bag and find things creatively to stretch Alabama's defense vertically. So Alabama's defensive line controlling the game at the line of scrimmage, very similar to how Kentucky did against Georgia, is going to be a key. And if they do that, they're going to be in a good position.
Let me ask this real quick. Hey, Ken, do you see Alabama doing any 4-down linemen, maybe Latham and what's the name in at the same time, and more of a 4-3 look at times, because Georgia doesn't have, 5 guys that threaten you necessarily, 4 or 5 guys at the receiver position?
Yeah, I could see that, like a Latham, Overton on one side, and like a Keenan, maybe Tim Smith, Otis in the middle. I definitely could see that. I can't remember if it was A-Day or some game earlier this year, but they have flashed that look before.
Yeah, they did it in the A-Day where they had both of them at the same time.
Yeah, I definitely think that we could see something like that, and it kind of goes back to what you said earlier about, K. Womack admittedly said that they've shown very little of the playbook. So I definitely think that type of set could be in play, and then like maybe having those 4 down in a pass rush situation as well, with the way that Overton has been able to get to the passer and Keenan as well. You add Latham into the mix, so I definitely think that we could see a look like that this Saturday.
Yeah, and you were talking about the Kirby. Is it a Kirby Saban thing? Is it a Georgia Alabama thing? What is Coach DeBoer going to? Do you think? Somebody asked the question. Do you think Coach DeBoer is going to try to pick the brain of Nick Saban this week, heading into this game, to really get, and maybe he did last week, to really get an understanding of the things that Kirby likes to do defensively to help this offense out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how can you not? I think K. Womack said this past week that he met with Saban in the last week. So I think that's going to be an ongoing conversation. And when you're in a matchup like this against another supernova team in Georgia, you have an obligation to exhaust all resources possible to put yourself in the best position to coach as well as you can so your players can be successful. So I definitely think there's going to be something to that. I wonder if that's going to be a big storyline going into this week, how much people are going to be talking about if maybe Nick Saban is kind of, helping them out and consulting in some way. But I have no doubt that the coaching staff has reached out to him to kind of pick his brain and gather some information.
Piggyback off of that question, Georgia's offense is a lot like the Kiffin offense. Would you agree? And maybe, yeah. I mean, so it's both ways. I mean, I think Saban could help kind of with both, because Kirby hasn't moved away from he's still where we were a few years ago, because he's had superior talent and everything's worked out for him until he ran into a team that could score a lot of points on his defense. Right.
Yeah, most definitely. That familiarity, I definitely think, is going to be something that's going to be helpful on both sides, which again goes back to what I said about, to me, the biggest matchup in the game is going to be the offensive brain trust on both sides and who's going to be able to call a better game. So I think kind of DeBoer being able to use what he already has offensively in his mind, paired with what maybe Saban can kind of do expertise-wise, does put Alabama in a pretty good position, I think.
Yeah, and I think when we're looking at this, if you had to give a breakdown of what you expect to see Saturday from Alabama, what are the steps to controlling this game and ending it with a W?
Yeah, I think the first thing is controlling the line of scrimmage. I think Alabama's offensive line coming off of a great game and a bye week and getting those guys fully healthy and that synergy, I think, is going to be big. Defensive line has been fantastic this year. They're going to have to keep that up. So control the line of scrimmage, and then, kind of let Jalen Milroe loose a little bit. I think the introduction of the quarterback run is a wrinkle that Georgia really didn't have to prepare for much last year. That wasn't a huge part of Bama's offense. It obviously is now. So just kind of controlled the game at the line of scrimmage and let Jalen Milroe do his thing. And they're going to be in a position, I think, to win the game. So not too much different than what Alabama's already been doing. They're just going to have to do it against, obviously, a much higher caliber opponent.
You see the Cowboys and the Ravens yesterday?
I did.
If I'm Sheridan and DeBoer, and I know they have their thing, but I'm calling those dudes and saying, okay, talk to me. Because because their creativity and the way they run Lamar, they had a play where Lamar was his own play action fake. Listen to this. It was a play action fake by Lamar. He faked it. Then he stood there and he had an option to pitch it after the fake. After he could have thrown it, he could have. Then he ended up running it up the middle, and it was wide open. I mean, I'm like, okay, that's a lot going on for a defensive guy to read.
Yeah, the irony in that is that Todd Booken is obviously the Ravens' offensive coordinator. So, obviously me being tapped into the Georgia fan base, he is dearly missed in Athens. So that's like another interesting wrinkle to what you just said, is that Georgia's former OC is now calling the Ravens offense. You see what they're doing to put Lamar Jackson in those type of situations.
Wow. Yeah. And they can figure out what to do when they get Justin Fields. I'm just saying. Oh, man.
Yeah, it is something to see when we're talking about this game and the changes from last year to this year. With coaching staffs and all of that. But when you look at what Jalen Milroe did in the game last year, you're talking about it. We didn't even have our top running back. What do you think the score is this year around, and what type of production does Jalen have in this game Saturday?
Yeah, I definitely think when we're talking about the conversation of top quarterbacks in the draft, Heisman, all of those things, this is the type of game that both Jalen Milroe and Carson Beck came back to school for, a moment like this, to have the full display. So I'm not sure about a final score. I do lean Alabama right now, again, just because I trust their offensive staff more than I trust Georgia's staff to put their quarterback in a better position. So leaning Alabama, maybe somewhere between 3 and 7 points, but I do think that, as it stands today, they have the edge going into Saturday.
Call us back and tell us what your score is later on in the week. Hey, that's Kennington Third. Tell them where they can find your stuff, Kennington.
Yeah, on theathletic.com or The Athletic, wherever you get your mobile apps, searching my name, Kennington Smith III, or anything related to Alabama athletics, or on Twitter at @skinnykenny_.
All right, hey guys, I'm going to do just a little bit of overtime to answer these questions on the live stream, so stay tuned. I'm Martin Houston, that's Xavier Houston, that's Kennington Smith III. Thanks to Chase, all the callers and viewers and chatters being part of the program. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide, guys. We'll be back in just a moment to keep it rolling on the live.